A lot of people say, you know what, just be yourself. But a lot of times we don't even know what that really means. We don't even know what that looks like. And it's because we've spent so much time in our lives trying to prove something to the world, trying to be somebody that other people wanted us to be, or trying to form ourselves into some kind of image that we have in our minds that's not truly in accordance with how God made us. Meanwhile, we've got all these areas in our life that we're shedding off, and God is teaching us how to get rid of some of these insecurities, fears, anger issues, areas of rejection, and people pleasing, all these things that we're beginning to shed off that at one point we thought, well, this is just the way that I am. You ever have those areas in your life where you've said, you know, this is just the way that I am, and God confronts that and says, no, I see you greater than what you've settled to see yourself. There's a greater identity that I see inside of you. But isn't it a struggle at times to say, well, I'm just going to be myself? Because as we're maneuvering through this, many times we honestly say, I don't know who I am. I'm not firmly rooted and established in understanding the power of who I am. Meanwhile, what God wants us to understand is you are the most powerful, you are the most effective, you are the most anointed when you are truly yourself. You see, in a world of performance-based Christianity and a lot of success-driven achievement, we like to look for a certain category and a certain thing that's, if I can find that, then I'll really know who I am. And no, God wants you to really understand the beauty of the beautiful thumbprint of who you are that is unique to this world. And that's the most anointed that you can be. And notice so many of our lives are filled with war over not really coming to terms with understanding that, not realizing the significance of who God made me to be. So I want to give you 7 quick things to help you to understand right where you are in your journey, right where you're at in your transformation. How can you be yourself right where you are right now? The first thing I've learned is we got to let go of pressure. Pressure is one of those things that the enemy loves to put in our lives and loves to get us knotted up and not yielding and entering into the rest of God. You see, when I enter into God's rest is where I can finally be myself, let my hair down, and just be able to settle in who He's made me to be. The more I engage in the pressure, I'm usually engaging in something that God has not put on me, a yoke that He's not put on me, that's keeping me from just entering into the rest of being myself. Another thing that I have to let go of is I have to let go of performance. The moment I'm trying to put on something to perform is the moment I'm often engaging an aspect of who I am that's not truly the core of who I am. Another thing I got to let go of is I got to let go of fabrication. How many times do we enter into scenarios and it's one thing to live out a role or a responsibility. It's another thing that we put on these fabrications that are so thick people never have access to the real you. They never have access to the power of who you are as God's loved child. It's this impenetrable layer. And sometimes we get lost in these things. I spend so many hours and so many opportunities with people seeking to help them shed these fabrications because they thought these things were so important to keep on in a way that they present themselves to people. And when they strip that down, they relax and they can enter into a more powerful dimension, a more powerful understanding of who they are. Another thing that's important to let go of is to let go of comparison. In the world of social media, we're constantly going through feeds and constantly going through articles where we are internally comparing our life to the lives of other people. And every time we do that, we set ourselves up for defeat. Because even if your life looks better than somebody else's, you're still setting yourself up for defeat in your life. But many times we're looking and, oh, why isn't my life like that person's life? Or we're comparing ourselves to another person's journey, another person's success, and we don't often know what's going on behind the scenes. You see, and I'm often spending a majority of my time dealing with people's behind the scenes. And I've come to learn this. We are all broken. We are all going through stuff. We all have massive challenges. Some of us are going through intense wilderness experiences. And if we would learn to stop comparing, we'd be able to hear the voice of God of what He says over our lives. Another thing that I've learned in being able to really be myself is to be vulnerable. And this is something that is not taught in Christianity. We are not taught the power of what it means to let our guard down and say, you know what? We're going through some struggles. One of the things my wife and I hold as a high value relationally and even in our ministry is the power of being vulnerable. It doesn't mean we back the truck up everywhere, but it's the power of, yeah, we've had battles and we have struggles. We've had things we've gone through that we've overcome. We have areas we're facing now. But learning to share the vulnerability is a powerful place for you to rest in who you are. Not to be victims. We're not victims of our circumstances, but to be able to connect in a vulnerable place of what we're battling through, but also where we're headed. And really, when it comes to being ourselves, I need to learn the simplicity of just being God's child. We overcomplicate it, but at the end of the day, you're not a husband, father, mother, business owner. Those things are your roles that you fulfill. But your core identity is God's child. And I find I'm spending the rest of my life relearning what it means to just be His kid, to just be a child, to be loved, knowing that my Father in heaven, my Abba, my daddy has my back, knowing that He loves and accepts me, knowing that I have nothing to prove because He already approves me. So what you need to do is imagine your day, what it would look like to be fully loved, fully accepted, fully approved of. What does that do in the picture of wherever you go? And lastly, what I find it to be important is it's important to practice and rehearse who God really says that I am, because that's the most powerful place that I can be and that I can live in. And I want to encourage you, don't try to be like somebody else. Don't try to be what people expect you to be. Engage the most powerful version of how you see yourself right now, because 3 weeks from now, 6 months from now, you're going to see a more powerful sense of who you are. But right now, all you can do is go by what you know. So engage that to the fullest extent in every relationship, in every situation. Rest in who God made you to be, because that's the most anointed, most powerful place you can be. I pray this encourages you. I pray this adds value. If you want to shed some more things that interfere with your identity, get a copy of my book, Exposing the Rejection Mindset. That will help free you up to become more of who God established you to be as a beautiful, created vessel on this planet.